college football.
Okay, let's go
Absolutely.
back to college football here. So, guys, we're just gonna pick some winners here. It's gonna be, I'm gonna say the team, say the game, the conference championship games. You guys are gonna say a winner, and then after that, we will discuss the playoff scenarios, the chaos that could happen, or what might not happen. So we'll start with the first conference championship game that's going to be going, and that's going to be Friday in the Pac-12 championship. Oregon versus Washington. Oregon is a 9.5-point favorite in this game. Who you guys picking?
I'm gonna pick Oregon, just because Washington hasn't looked good, but at the same time, Washington seems like a team that plays down to their competition every time, regardless of if they're very good or if they're very bad. And so far they've obviously won them all. So I mean, I don't know. I just think Oregon's firing on all cylinders. I mean, Bo Nix is arguably a top 1 or 2 Heisman candidate. I'm going with them. Go Bucky. Go get the national title.
I'm also going to go with Oregon, and I think that third time's the charm where Dan Lanning doesn't get in his way and he doesn't Brandon Staley this game. I understand being aggressive, but he's almost being out of control. You know, right? These first 2 games that went in his career at Oregon when he's played Washington, and so I'm with Ethan. I'm gonna go with Oregon. Their offense is just too much, and Michael Penix hasn't been the same since that first Oregon game.
No, he hasn't, and that's also probably why I'm gonna pick Oregon.
Oh well, all right. Washington to the playoff it is then.
Yep. Which the scenarios we'll get into, but yeah, I think Oregon. I think there's that revenge factor. Oregon's feeling like they left a lot. Dan Lanning's probably beating himself up, thinking that cost them, and Washington, like Ethan said, just has not played as well. But they do kind of play to the level of their competition. I think Washington covers this game, but I like Oregon to win. So down to the Big 12. The 10 o'clock game on ABC on Saturday. Texas 15.5-point favorites now. Do you think can Oklahoma State pull the upset and send Texas packing with their final Big 12 game as a loss, similar to what they did to Oklahoma?
No.
Ethan's going with Texas.
Oklahoma State gave up 45 to UCF. There's no way they can hold Texas down. I think Texas wins big and they cover.
And also, they needed a fourth overtime to beat BYU last week, a 5-6 BYU Cougars team. And also, Texas is going to be pissed off because Mike Gundy was coach of the year and not Sark. Talk about pettiness. Dylan, you talk about the Big Ten commissioner having to give the championship trophy to Harbaugh. Well, this loser in the Big 12 is going to have to look Sark in the eye and give him a trophy on Saturday.
I'll shout out former Big 12 commissioner whose son blocked Ethan for calling him out. So yeah, I think that just is a requirement to be Big 12 commissioners. You have to be a gigantic pussy. So, and let's I'm gonna change things up here. We got to have one non-Power 5. So I went with the teams with the best records here, and we're going to the MACtion. Miami of Ohio versus Toledo, 10 a.m. on ESPN. Who do you guys have?
I think Toledo sounds cooler, so we'll go Toledo.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the Redhawks. You drive down the highway, see a red-tailed hawk on a light pole. You know he's about to eat some sort of critter. So give me the Redhawks.
Give me my Ben Roethlisberger's over there.
Yeah, yep. the Big Ben special.
Yep.
And you know what? I guess I'm gonna roll with Miami of Ohio. Bo Schembechler, that's where he coached at before he went to Michigan. So I guess I got to roll with the Redhawks as well. But back to the Power 5 here. Let's go to the probably after the Oregon-Washington game, the most hyped up, most one that promises to, and going by point spread, promises to be the the better games. Actually, yeah, the second best point spread of the Power Five. Georgia versus Alabama. Georgia's 5.5-point favorites. This game's 2 p.m. CBS.
I think this one has the most implications for the college football playoff.
Mm-hmm.
If Alabama wins, 2 SEC teams are getting in. Simple as that. If Georgia wins, it's 1. Alabama's out. But I don't know. I feel like this is one of those years where Georgia looks dominant. Alabama comes back and beats them, though. I'm going Alabama. I think Milroe, whatever his name is, has looked phenomenal the last month since he got benched. But yeah, I'm going with Alabama. Why the hell not? They look like the better team right now, if you ask me.
All right, Ethan is rolling with the tide here. We got our first upset pick of the day, of the show, for that matter. Grant?
And this is where we differ. Ethan talks about Washington playing the level of their competition. Well, Georgia's done that this year too. And unlike in 2021 when they knew they could lose and they could get in, that's not the same. I think they're going to come out. They're going to be guns a-blazing. Carson Beck is doing something real special right now. We got those running backs. That Georgia defense is going to make just enough 2 or 3 plays where they turn Alabama over and those could go into points the other way. So I'm going to take the Dogs in a home game.
All right. Can we get a bark?
Didn't do it loud enough. Boone didn't hear
And
you.
I've bounced back and forth with this one. Alabama did not look great against Auburn. Some of that's because of a rivalry game. Auburn
And or they were looking ahead.
And possibly looking ahead. I expect Alabama to come out ready to play in this game because it's Alabama, Georgia for the SEC title game. They're going to have Georgia fans are going to be barking. Alabama fans are going to be yelling "Roll Tide." They're going to be starting drinking at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be an absolute booze fest down in Atlanta. But I think Georgia's been the more consistent team all year. I trust Carson Beck to make the right decision more than I trust Jalen Milroe to. So that's why I'm going to go with the Dogs to win their back-to-back SEC championship.
Mm-hmm.
So down to the night games. We'll start with the ACC here. Florida State versus Louisville. Florida State is 2.5-point favorites. 6 p.m. on ABC. Boys, who does Florida State win and get that undefeated record?
If Florida State wins, obviously they go undefeated. And then if Alabama beats Georgia, that's going to be crazy to see what the actual committee does. Are you going to go with an undefeated ACC champion just because they're undefeated? Because they are not one of the best 4 teams in the country right now without Travis. So what do? Do you honor the whole system or do you honor the better team? That's going to be crazy if it does happen.
Which we'll talk about it after we.
Yeah, I have Louisville winning. I have Louisville winning. I think they're the team right now without Travis. So I do have Louisville taking it. Go Jeff Brown.
I'm with you, E. I think Louisville was looking ahead last week. They were playing Kentucky. That was Kentucky's national championship. I think Brohm is going to get Louisville fired up to play, just like he did before that Notre Dame game. Come in, win a conference title his first year there. Florida State, they don't have the emotion of playing an in-state game anymore against Florida, where a lot of these players played high school together. And, these all-state, all-star games. I believe it's in Charlotte, right? Or is it in Orlando?
Yep. Charlotte.
Yeah, it's in Charlotte. It's not going to be a home game like if it was in Orlando. I'm with E. I think the Cards get the win.
Okay. And yes, it is at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte.
Okay.
And you guys are zigging. I'm gonna zig. I'm gonna go with Florida State. They did not look great last week. It was also a rivalry game. I think a bit. Grant, you mentioned Louisville looking a little bit ahead, losing to Kentucky. I think Florida State also had a little bit of that syndrome. I think them breaking in a new quarterback in a rivalry game, I think that might have also had a factor in it. And I think with another week to prepare, I think Mike Norvell is going to have Rodemaker ready to go. And I'm going to go with the Noles to continue that continue their unbeaten season and make things tough, could potentially tougher for the committee to see what they do with them. And then let's go to the final, the other 6 p.m. game on Fox. This one is going to be on Fox. It's the Big Ten Championship. It's a battle of two of the host team here, Michigan versus Iowa. Michigan is a 21.5 point favorite as of now. The over under for Iowa in the first half team total is 3.5 points. Last I looked. But guys, who do you guys have picking to win the Big Ten Championship?
Michigan, and it's going to be just as bad as when Ohio State absolutely walloped Wisconsin.
So 59-0.
Yep, 40 plus point victory.
Yeah, I got Michigan as well.
Oh, so Ethan has Michigan covering and the over. That's a free bet right there.
Doubling them up.
Covering and the over, yeah. Because what's the over? 33.5, Dylan?
35.5 when I looked this morning here.
Okay.
See if that line is dropped.
Iowa's defense isn't good enough to stop Michigan or like that. No way.
Let's see here. It is 35.5. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I got Michigan as well. I mean, if Iowa's defense plays the half of their life, it'll be close like the Penn State game was at halftime. But then they're just going to run out of gas and the floodgates are going to open up, kind of like the game 2 years ago. Was it 14-3 and then the final score was 42-3? It's just that Michigan had, if you picked the players on this roster, picked 1 through 75, you would pick the entire Michigan roster before you picked an Iowa player. So Michigan.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Wolverines as well. I think. Yeah, I know, shocking. But I wouldn't be shocked if this game is somewhat close, similar like what you said, Grant, like a 14-3 game. But in the end, I think Michigan has the horses. Harbaugh's coming back. They're going to be playing inspired, and I think he came back at a really good time. Sharon Moore has done a phenomenal job, coached his balls off, coached like he had nothing to lose, was the more aggressive coach, and it paid off against Ohio State. Go on the road, beat Penn State, beat Maryland. But with Harbaugh coming back, he's going to have those guys ready. Him having that NFL experience of, it's the next week. We can't worry about last week, not letting the team have an emotional letdown. He's going to have them ready and focused. They're going to have a good week of practice. They're going to go to Indy and treat it as a business trip, go down there, get a win, and then probably get the more than likely, depending on what happens, the 2 seed playing whoever, which I guess that is a good transition here where let's the playoff scenario. So the easy, and I don't know if easy is the right thing, but right now the committee goes Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, Florida State 4. I think if all 4 teams win this week, I think that's what the committee is going to go with, going off the past.
100%.
They always take the path of least resistance. If all 4 teams win, which we do not think is going to happen, with Oregon winning, even if Oregon beats Washington, the Pac-12,
that's a quarterfinal game.
It's a quarterfinal game. It's a playing game. Whoever wins is in. Now, that said, I think Michigan.
Dylan, real quick, I think it's kind of. No, ranking what? Never. I was going to say it's like the Iowa Michigan game in 15, but Iowa was the 4, and Michigan State was the 5. Washington here's the 3, but just like that game, it's a quarterfinal game.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think even if Michigan were to get upset by Iowa, I still would think they're in. But
that would be a bad loss, though.
Yeah,
that's a bad loss.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Oof.
I still think they have 2 really good wins that balance it out with beating Ohio State and Penn State. But now where things get weird here is the SEC. What happens in the SEC championship game, like Ethan said? Big 12, there's not a whole lot of implications here. Texas wins. They've put themselves in, given themselves the opportunity to get in. They're going to need some luck. But with the SEC, depending on what happens, I'm not sure if Alabama beats Georgia. I'm almost tempted to say Georgia is out, depending on what else happens. I think if Florida State wins, I think that might be a path where Georgia drops down all the way down to the 4 seed potentially, and they play Michigan in the Rose Bowl. But Alabama wins, they're in, and that's where it brings up the best 4 or most deserving 4, because I think there needs to be some sort of balance of what did you do on the field. Alabama lost to Texas. And I think if Alabama wins, Texas wins, I think both of those teams deserve to go. Georgia did not win an SEC championship. And, this is one of those things with the committee where they always kind of change year to year of what is most important, of the best team or most deserving. And I think this is a year where the conference championships matter and settled on the field. Texas beat Alabama. Alabama beat Georgia. I think both of those teams get in, and Georgia is potentially, depending on what happens in that Florida State. I think if Florida State loses to Louisville, you'd still have a team knocked out. And then they're not going to leave a team from the SEC out. That's just not going to happen.
Oh, God, no.
I think if everything holds, it's probably going to be Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Washington 3, Florida State 4. That's probably what it's going to be. I don't see that changing. If a couple of teams get upset, this could be the wildest selection show that we've seen in the college football era.
It would be back to the 2017 when Alabama got in as the 4 seed, when it was the debate between them and Ohio State.
Yeah,
but
I think
on that year, Dylan, for that year though, it was clear and obvious that Alabama was better than Ohio State. It was clear and obvious. And also,
what happened this year? You have 8 teams that are legitimately good enough to get in.
So hear me out, guys. Listen to this. Listen to this scenario right here. I got for you. After I say this, I want you to tell me who's in. Okay? How did it go? Was it okay, so undefeated Georgia is in. Undefeated Michigan, they're in. You have a 1-loss Pac-12 champion in Oregon, a 1-loss Big 12 champion in Texas, and an undefeated Florida State team. Boom. 3 teams for 2.
I'm going easy.
Well, you go with we said Pac-12. The Pac-12 is a quarterfinal game, so whoever that is wins.
Yep.
And I think you go with Florida State. They're undefeated. I understand that they don't have Jordan Travis, but we've also
Ohio
seen
State didn't have Cardale Jones.
Where Ohio or JT Barrett, you mean?
Or sorry, JT Barrett. Yep.
And when you win all your games in a Power 5 conference, you deserve to be in the playoff. I don't care who the quarterback is. That is not easy to do it. It's not easy when you have a potential first-round quarterback as a starting quarterback. If you go undefeated, you deserve to be in. That's my logic.
Florida State played LSU out of conference. Texas played Alabama. Okay, they both played a team in the SEC. I don't care that Texas played a Sherwood game and Florida State played a home game in Orlando. They went to New Orleans last year to play LSU. It's only fair. It's not Florida State's fault that Clemson was down. They didn't play North Carolina, and I don't think they played North Carolina State either. So 2 of the better teams in the ACC, and at the end of the day, Texas had another opportunity to beat a top 10 team, and they couldn't do it. So I'm with you, Dylan. If you go undefeated, I don't care if you don't have your quarterback or not. You don't have a blemish. You deserve to be in there.
I'll be
Yep.
I'll be the devil's advocate here. I'm going Texas. I'm going the team. I want the best four. Like that's great. You went undefeated. Like congratulations. That's incredible. It happened in the BCS too. Not always the best team with the record gets in. Obviously, we don't even know what the hell that metric was. That computer system, that algorithm, we have no idea. Here, they can at least speak to why they do it. I want the best four, and I think Texas at that point is better than Florida State. So I'm putting Texas in as the 4, Oregon as the 3.
Yeah. And like I said, I think there needs to be a balance between the best and more deserving, because if we go off of point spreads, like Nick Saban last year was, when I was so desperate he had to go on the at halftime of the Big Ten championship and beg, because talk about how if we were to play, we would be favored against 3 of the 4 teams, but they lost 2 games. They didn't do it on the field. You have to do it on the field, and Texas should not have lost. I think if Texas would have gotten a rematch with Oklahoma and beat them, I think they would have a much better argument, but
100%.
But they don't, and I'm not saying you're wrong. And with the 12-team playoff, this isn't even a question they're in, but I think that you still need to have, things have to be settled on the field.
Well, and also, guys, it's going to come down to Saturday style of how you win. Had Ohio State not done 59-0 over Wisconsin, TCU probably gets in that year. If that would have been a black and blue Big Ten title game, Ohio State wins 28-20 with Cardale Jones, TCU's in there. But they blew the absolute doors off them and had the game of their life, and the committee's like, hey, this team ain't too bad. So if Florida State, if they defeat Louisville, but it's an ugly, 23-19 game like last Saturday was when they beat Florida. I know it was a 2-possession game, but you're kind of sitting back like, yeah, the Gators could have won that thing. And if Texas wins 38-10 or 45-10, I think the style points and then the win in Tuscaloosa to start the year, and also the Jordan Travis injury, Texas is going to get in. So just like how we talked in the NBA play-in tournament or the in-season tournament, style points are going to matter on Saturday. And if Sark has an opportunity to run up that score, run it up.
Is there a way you see Ohio State getting in?
There needs to be a lot of chaos.
So hold on. If that were to happen, Texas has to lose.
Texas has to lose.
Florida State has to lose.
Yep.
If that's
honestly,
and they can't have Alabama win. And they can't have
it.
Yeah.
They can't have Alabama win.
Well, even then, like, would you pick 1-loss Georgia or would you pick 1-loss Ohio State? That's what it comes down to.
Oh, holy shit!
I would still go. I think
I'd go Georgia.
I'll probably get called biased, but yeah, I'd probably go Georgia.
I think they go SEC. But
I do.
Is that the right choice? I don't know, because I think Ohio State played well versus Michigan.
They did.
They did.
You're not wrong. That was they played really well. But the other part too that I look at as far as Georgia, Ohio State, Carson Beck is a much better player than Kyle McCord. I think he's more of a difference maker than Kyle McCord would be.
Mm-hmm.
And also, guys, let's not forget this. Are they going to penalize the last 2-time defending national champions who's won 28 games in a row? I think it's not fair to say this, but I think Georgia has that in their back pocket, where the committee's going to sit back and say, hey, they went 12-0 in the regular season, and they had to play a 13th game. This Ohio State team only played 12 2 years in a row. They couldn't even win their division. I think that there might be some bias in there in that aspect too.
Because would they allow a Michigan-Ohio State rematch in the semifinal? Because that's what it would have to be. There's no way you can put Ohio State at 3.
No, Ohio State has to be 4.
And Washington wouldn't jump Michigan.
Yeah, no, if Ohio State's in there, the 4, and if Alabama wins and you kick Georgia out, it has to be a semifinal
rematch.
There has to be a semifinal rematch.
Can you imagine that? That would be
in
just nuts.
in the Rose Bowl.
Oh my!
Oh my
Dylan would
God!
die. Dylan would legitimately die.
I'd probably go. I'd probably spend $700 on a ticket just to go watch it.
$700.
We've talked so much about this. Let's be real. The favorites are going to win. None of this is going to matter.
It's going to be it's going to be Georgia,
Predictions
Florida
sure
State,
go wrong.
Yep.
and it's going to be Michigan, Washington.
Boom, 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 boom. Good to go. Easy.
But Dylan, it's funny you mentioned that because these last 4 or 5 years, the committee's had it easy. Every
They
team
have.
that's had to win, they've won. The only tough year was 17, like you said, but Alabama was better than Ohio State. And in 14, when Ohio State got in over TCU.
Yeah.
Is Condoleezza Rice still on the committee?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I can't remember who it is,
I'm
but
gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up.
Joel Klatt was ranting about it today on the Joel Klatt show about the
I love Joel, but he rants about these guys every single week. He's just looking to create content.
Selection committee
be.
roster. Here we go. It's pulling up right now.
No, so hear me out, guys. Hear me out. What
I
if?
got it. You ready? Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, Ethan,
Go-
hold that.
yeah,
hold
go
that
ahead.
thought. Hold
Go.
that thought, because I have something
Okay.
here. I don't want to forget it. So hypothetically speaking, we said Texas loses, Florida State loses. They're out, and there's a chance Ohio State gets in. What if Washington loses to Oregon? Are they going to? They're also 12-0. Are they going to penalize them? Are they the odd man out, or could they possibly still get a benefit of the doubt?
If Washington beats Oregon, they're in.
If Washington loses, but if Texas loses and Florida State loses, does Florida State jump Washington? Do they go from?
I would. Well, then that's where you could make the argument that Washington and Georgia both have over Ohio State is they
went
they
12-0.
played in the conference championship game. And maybe and then Ohio State could come back and say, well, yeah, that's because they don't have divisions, or I guess for the Pac-12's sake, but Ohio State had
Fair.
opportunities to win the game, and as I said in my opening rant,
and didn't do it.
So it would be quite. Ohio State needs a lot more than what they needed last year.
Last year they needed a Utah win.
That's all. Yeah, that's all they needed. Now they need a bunch of factors to happen. They're not dead, but they're on life support.
They are, yes.
So, all right, so here's the committee.
Yep.
Chris Ault, he is the former director of athletics at Nevada.
Okay.
Mitch Barnhart is Kentucky's athletic director.
Okay.
Boo Kerrigan is NC State's director of athletics. Chet Gladchuk is the Navy Academy director of athletics. Jim Grobe is a former football coach. Mark Harlan is Utah's athletic director. Ward Manuel, we all know that one, Michigan. So Interesting. David Saylor is Miami, Ohio. Will Shields runs some athletic complex in Overland Park, Kansas.
The former chief offensive lineman?
Former chief, yeah. I was like, I know that name.
I've heard that name before.
My favorite guy, Gene Taylor. We all know where he's at. Joe
Shout out
Taylor,
Gene.
Vice President for Intercollegiate Athletics and Community Wellness at Virginia Union University, whatever the heck that is.
Okay.
Rod West, Group President, Utility Operations for Entergy Corporation. Interesting. And then the one female, Kelly Whiteside, is a professor at Montclair State University.
Diversity.
There it is.
She's white. That doesn't count. She's just a white female. That doesn't count.
She doesn't matter.
There's like 5 white males, 2 African American, and then 2 male, and then a white female. So they did awesome,
Yeah. You think we could ever get Gene Taylor on here?
It's practically a
That'd be a
committee
fun
in the
conversation.
I mean, you might as well email him and see, or else I guess I can. I know him. Like, could always see.
But let's go down to the.
Hey,
let's go back up to.
Hey, real quick though, just because we've talked about this, I want to hear all three of us our four rankings and where we have these teams.
Based off of these, our predictions, yes.
Yes, based off of our predictions, where we think it'll be, who's the 1, who's the 2, who's the 3, who's the 4. I want to hear us.
Who wants to go first?
Okay.
It was
I'll
my idea.
go.
I'll go first.
All right.
All right. So obviously Georgia 1. I got Michigan 2. I'm going to go Oregon with the win over Washington at 3. And then since I said Louisville and I think Texas wins, I think Sark gets Texas there and Texas is at the 4.
Okay.
So I got Michigan 1 since I have Georgia losing.
Yep.
I am gonna have Oregon the 2.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think they
Not
win.
not that 2 and 3 matter.
No, it doesn't. I'm gonna have Alabama 3. Actually, no, it'd be Texas 3.
Texas
they beat
3.
Alabama. Alabama 4.
Wow.
That's fair. But
We
the number 1
Grant,
seed matters because you choose where you want to
can
play.
Yep.
Because remember, guys, remember this: 2018.
Michigan, Bama. Holy shit!
Holy shit! But remember this: it matters where you play because in 2018, Alabama was the number 1 overall seed.
Yep.
The semifinals that year were in Dallas and Miami. They were playing Oklahoma. Norman and Oklahoma City is damn close to Dallas. We're going to Miami,
Yes,
boys. Yeah,
Can you
that would.
imagine this Jersey game though in the title? Michigan versus Texas.
Oh my God! Woo! That's a Jersey game, baby.
Oh, it'd be the best Jersey game since USC Texas.
Oh my God! Yeah. Dude, even my semifinal game with Oregon and Michigan, that's a hell of a Jersey because you have tradition on one side and you got we don't know what they're gonna wear on the other side.
Yeah.
And then this my semifinal game, you got Texas and the icy all whites, and then that Georgia red is just sexy. Ooh, ooh, god damn!
Rematch of the
2018
or 2019 Sugar Bowl, but
Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
But my go down to my playoff predictions. I got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, Oregon 3, Florida State 4.
Okay. Call me crazy.
So,
of all the teams Michigan could play, Dylan, I think Oregon is the one they'd want to play.
It could be, yeah.
Because
you're gonna have
Oregon,
to play them at some point, either way.
At some point, but that Oregon defensive line, TCU's defensive line was small last year, and we saw how that worked out. But this is a different Michigan team, so whatever. But hey, we got to play the games Friday and Saturday first.